Hey everyone! So we're in Parsha Tetzaveh, which is the Parsha dedicated to the Kohanim. This week's Parsha speaks about the clothing that the Kohanim would wear during their service. It speaks about the korbanot that were offered during the inauguration ceremony of the Kohanim. And it's strange that since this is the Parsha that's dedicated to the Kohanim, it's strange that the two bookends of this week's Parsha seem to have nothing to do with the Kohanim. The very beginning of the Parsha speaks about the Shemen Zayit Zach, the pure olive oil that was used to light the menorah every afternoon. And the end of the Parsha speaks about the Mizbach HaKetorah, right? The altar in which the incense, these nice smelling spices, were offered up to Hashem once in the morning and once in the afternoon. And it seems very insignificant compared to all the bulk of the parsha, which is all about the Kohanim themselves. Yes, these are two services that happen to be done by the Kohen Gadol, but there are many other things that are done by the Kohen Gadol that aren't listed in this week's parsha. So why did Hashem, when he was writing the Torah, choose to include the menorah at the beginning of this week's parsha and the Mizbach HaKetorah at the end of this week's parsha to bookend and sandwich the parsha that is dedicated to the Kohanim? And if we look at these two stuff, the one narrative at the beginning and the one narrative at the end, we see that there's one thing in common: the word tamid, which is a word that means constantly. That there's Avodat, that this service in the Beit HaMikdash, both the lighting of the menorah and the offering of the incense on the Mizbach HaKetorah, is done all the time. But Rashi, at the beginning of the Parsha, as he does in other spots throughout the Torah when the word tamid appears, points out that the word tamid could have two different definitions. Tamid can either mean constant, something is being done all the time, 24/7 nonstop, but it doesn't have to mean constant. Tamid could also mean consistent, that it's done at the same time every single day. You always do it on its mark. Not that it's always being done, but that every single day at a certain time something is being done. Constant versus consistent. And the thing that the menorah at the beginning of the parsha and the Mizbach HaKetorah at the end of the parsha have in common, besides the fact that the word tamid is used by both of them, that the word tamid has the same meaning in both cases. Neither of them are the constant kind of tamid. The menorah isn't perpetually lit, and the Ketorah isn't perpetually burning from the Mizbach HaKetorah. Rather, it's the consistent kind of tamid. The menorah is lit every afternoon, every night, and then the oil would burn and eventually would go out, and then the next night it would be relit, but it wouldn't be lit during the day. The Mizbach HaKetorah, it was lit once in the morning and once in the afternoon, and when it would go out, but it wouldn't be constantly burning, it would only be consistently burning. That's the thing that the menorah and the Mizbach HaKetorah have in common. And maybe it explains why these two narratives are the ones that sandwich and bookend the entire parsha about the Kohanim. Josh Miller, my good friend in Chavrusa, pointed out to me that the Kohanim themselves, right, only work, besides for the Kohen Gadol, but the rest of the Kohanim only work 2 weeks of the year. The rest of the year they're not doing anything. And yet they're still called Kohanim. How could they be called Kohanim if for most of their lives they're not doing the Kohen duty? Because the point is they hit their marks every year when they're supposed to be doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're consistent about it, and just because they're not constant, it doesn't take away from their tamidiyut, from the fact that they are tamid, that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. Right? They hit their marks, they do everything they're supposed to be doing, and that's enough for them to be called Kohanim. Just because they're not on 100% of the time doesn't take away from the fact that they're tamid. The same thing is true about the menorah and about the Mizbach HaKetorah. Just because these aren't perpetually lit, they aren't constantly lit, because they're always on their marks and they're always on when they're supposed to be on. Just because they're not 100% of the time doesn't mean they can't be called tamid. Just because they're not constant, because they're consistent, they're still called tamid, and that's good enough. And the same thing is true about the Kohanim. That's the lesson of the Kohanim, and something that we could apply to our own Avodat Hashem when we're thinking about our own service of God. Right? Sometimes there's this pressure that we have to be on 24/7, and every single moment we have to be on this spiritual high. But that's not the way our religion is structured. We're not supposed to be tamid in the constant sense, but rather we're supposed to be tamid in the consistent sense, following the model of the Kohanim. That we have certain things we have to do, right? There's 3 tefillot we're supposed to daven a day. You're supposed to learn Torah a minimum morning and night. There's certain mitzvot you have to keep, and yes, there's a lot of different boxes we have to check, but the point is that we check all the boxes, we do the things we need to do consistently, and then we're able to take a break. We don't have to be constantly on. Now, if we're able to do more, then we should do more. But the point is that we're supposed to be where we're at. If we're able to do more, that means we're at a place when we're able to do more. And for us, that is our tamid, our consistent. But if pushing ourselves too much is beyond what we're capable of, then that's not what's required of us, and that's not what's expected of us. That would be more than our tamid, more than our consistency. And you shouldn't push yourself too much in your Avodat Hashem if you're not capable of it, because you're not going to accomplish anything that way, and it's just going to lead you to feel down and depressed. Then you're not going to be able to even do the things you're supposed to be doing. And that's what HaKadosh Baruch Hu is telling us in this week's Parsha. Do the Kohanim, do the Menorah, do the Mizbach HaKatorah, that do your Tamid in a consistent way. Hit your marks, do the things that you need to be doing. Obviously try to be growing, and if your potential expands and your capability expands, then do more. But don't do more than you're able to bite off. Don't chew more than you're able to bite off. Do your Tamid in the consistent sense, and that is how we're able to be successful. Avodat Hashem. Okay, that's my rant. Have a good Shabbos. I will talk to y'all next week. Bye-bye.